welcome back to another episode of the Scale Smart podcast. I'm your host Jacob and also the founder of Next Scale Growth. Today I'm joined with Michael Nolan, the CEO and co-founder of SocioLocal. Michael, thank you for joining me today.
Not at all, Jacob. Delighted to be here.
So, Michael, kick me off. Tell me a little bit more about your experience, your expertise, and what do you guys do at SocioLocal?
Sure. So I suppose a little bit about me. I kind of would have grown up through IT, e-commerce, and now into SaaS software. So I was very lucky in my career to work with some great individuals and great companies like Trintech, that was a fintech company here in Dublin. Then GE Money, obviously a massive global conglomerate, through to paddypower.com, a real kind of leader in online gaming. And I suppose I've kind of grown up through executive roles in those large e-commerce already scaled businesses. And I always wanted to come smaller. So since 2020, I've been back in the startup space. And that's where I met my partner, Stephen Malone. He had a social media agency business called SocioLocal, and he had been selling into the hospitality sector. Then COVID happened. His market disappeared from under him, and he was looking at what to do next, how to pivot the company. And that's where I came in, doing a bit of work with him. And we thought that there was this really interesting opportunity to create a digital marketing platform for multi-location brands. So these are brands that would have multiple physical locations around the country. And we would create a program that allowed them to access all of their Facebook pages, their Instagram pages. So do local marketing digitally.
And I know you guys have kind of made a big transition in the business, going from serving independent businesses to supporting quite large multinational brands. So considering the shift in like scale and complexity, how did you guys adapt your strategy and operations to meet the demands of the larger clients?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, there's a trend that's been going on for the last number of years around SaaS, narrow but deep. So this is the idea that instead of trying to boil the ocean, you look at a very specific segment and you go, right, this is our market. This is what we're going to excel in. And for us, that was that multi-location brands. There's other large digital marketing platforms out there who try to cater for everyone. We are very much about looking at what are the specific user needs of the multi-location brands, and let's solve for those specific issues. So I suppose that's been at the core of what we've done in SocioLocal, initially with grocery brands, in Ireland and the UK, such as Spar, Eurospar, Londis, Centra in Ireland, Premier in the UK. And that's kind of proved out the business case. And now we've moved on to other verticals, be that hospitality, health. There's really very few verticals that we're finding where it's not applicable if they have multiple physical locations.
And I also work with a company very similar to yours, Michael, who do the digital marketing, serving different types of brands. They specialize in banking, manufacturing, and also healthcare. And one thing they've kind of mentioned to me is like, once they've noticed a big kind of increase on the kind of finance and banking side. Have you guys ever kind of thought about that type of industry? Have you noticed any traction from a specific industry which you guys are kind of focusing on?
From a customer point of view, we find that every vertical we go into, we're finding traction. So once that sector that we're going into is trying to do social media, then we're golden. And we're actually piloting with an Irish financial group as we speak. That is a sector that we're starting to play into. I suppose I've come from a fintech background originally, so I'm always interested in how we can overcome the issue of payments on any platform. And again, as we grow through scale, I think that'll become more and more important.
And in a competitive landscape of digital marketing platforms, Michael, how do you guys at SocioLocal differentiate yourself, especially for the multi-locational retailers as well?
Yeah, so I suppose, there's this concept out there of phygital, so how do you digitalize physical businesses? So we very much focus in that space. And again, we very much focus for the problems that multi-location brands would face. So we find by being specialists in that area, our platform can effectively very quickly resolve a customer's key issues. There's nothing more enjoyable than going in and meeting a prospective customer for the first time and just asking them what's their experience being like in trying to manage local social media marketing for all their locations. And as they list out all the concerns they've had and frustrations to date, I have an answer, or our platform has an answer for every single one of those issues, because they're common, right? So it's about how do you keep listening to customers, understanding how they're working with a problem, and then solve that specific problem. So I think that's, that.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good approach as well. And I think a lot of people, like what I see as well, and I think what a lot of people do is they just focus on like what they think would be the best thing, but it's not that thing they think might be the best thing is not actually what people need, and people kind of forget about that market research and that product market fit before they actually launch a product. And I think that's the most important like aspect when it comes to like trying to sell something to someone, is if you haven't got a solution which solves someone's problems, you're never going to sell anything.
And unless you're listening to them to properly understand what their problem is, you thinking you know what that customer's problem is never going to win you market share. So I'm very proud that every time we hear a problem from the customer, we put together what we think is the solution to that. We then go out and validate that. Because quite often, like the 5 whys, when you ask someone what their problem is, they tell you it's this. But when you ask them why that's their problem, they say, well, because of this. So quite often it's like peeling back an onion. You have to get right to the core of what the problem is.
Yeah.
To solve that at the root for the customer. So
Yeah.
but when you do it, that's just lovely.
Yeah, and it's that thing of like not accepting surface level answers. You need to get underneath the surface and actually find out the true pain, the true problems which you're going to solve. And again, it goes back to like that product market fit, and companies are so specific, they think they got the next best thing, but ultimately because they've heard from one client that we struggle with that, let's say outreach or with social media marketing, for example, on your guys' behalf, but you don't know why they've struggled with that. What have they tried before? Why didn't it work? What are they currently trying? And I think once you take that whole process into account, you can craft an offer which it would be really hard to say no to.
Yeah, and I think that piece of don't just listen once, hear what the person's problem is, try to solve it, go back to that person, really listen for the silences as well. When someone's looking at something that roughly solves their problem, you have to listen even harder to make sure that you're saying, hang on, is there any concern there? Is there a better way that we could be doing this? And that's where your product really starts singing.
Yeah, 100%. And Michael, I think with AI coming into place now in pretty much every single industry, right? How are you guys planning to utilize AI to kind of enhance what you guys are doing, enhance the customer experience, and also make sure you're constantly staying ahead for whatever comes within the market? Yeah,
so I mean, we've got again that same approach for AI as any other technology that we implement. What is the friction points for the customer in being really good at social media? And we look at the personas, the users that we have. We have a headquarter user who knows social media, and they just need assistance to make social posts that they might already be doing on the brand page applicable at across 100 local pages. So they have one need. But then the individual location managers, they aren't social media experts. They might be a grocery store manager or a restaurant manager or a vet. And they really need help in understanding, when to post, reminders to post, suggestions as to the best time of the day to post, suggestions as to the media to use. So AI for us is always going to be a tool that really delivers on our promise to make local social media easy for all users in multi-location brands.
And where do you see the future of digital marketing heading, Michael? I know obviously AI taking a big thing, but is there anything else you can think of which is really going to take the industry by surprise?
Yeah, I think content is always going to be modifying and improving. There's a lot of noise in the space around AI generation of this.
Hmm.
I suppose we're being a bit counterflow in that regard. We feel that rather than all this homogenous content, we feel now is a time where you can actually let local content shine.
Yeah.
Through our technology, what we allow is for the brand teams to bring along those slick, very curated, very professional posts that go in about promoting the brand, any promotional products that are being done. But then we also leave room for the local teams to be able to do those very kind of rough and ready posts, but obviously local and highly engaging. We always find that it's those local posts that are actually going to get the highest engagement. It could be about a summer job in the shop. It could be about congratulating two members of staff who've got engaged. It could be about keys that were lost and found. They're the ones that are going to be tagged, circulated around the community, who owns these keys. And that's what's going to get the eyeballs there, so that when you do post something about a special on that weekend, more eyes are going to see it. So it's about keeping it genuine. And I think, that's a key belief we have that's going to be really critical in the next few years in digital marketing.
Mm. And over the next 12 months or so, Michael, what are some of the goals you've got for the company in terms of growth, in terms of bringing on new clients?
Yeah, so I mean, we've been lucky in the last few years that for the last 3 years we've doubled our business every single year, and we plan to at least do that again this year. We intend to at least get into 3 new verticals. So I kind of said we're now looking at financial services. We're also looking at sectors in the services side, more in the fashion retail side. So we want to grow in the number of verticals that we have. And we also want to grow outside Ireland and the UK. We've really focused on those markets up until now. And we're now looking at across Europe, as a natural next step for an Irish-based company. We think that we can get that kind of EU benefit going.
Yeah. Well, sounds amazing. And if people wanted to reach out, Michael, and find out more about yourself or also SocioLocal, where's the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, so they can always find us at sociolocal.io, or they can contact me either through LinkedIn or michael.nolan@sociolocal.io.
Amazing. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been great getting your perspective on the digital marketing and also some of the goals of the expansion of SocioLocal. So thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Jacob.
Been a pleasure.